Welcome to the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Get ready for episode number 50 of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast as we welcome veteran wrestling powerhouse, the Big Texan. We thank all of you joining us for tonight's episode of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Before we get underway, we pay honor, tribute, and respect to the greatest nation in the world as we play our national anthem.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for their ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is me. It is Rough Cut Rick Ruby here, along with episode number 50 of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. And as you just probably briefly saw, we've got a brand new look coming up here for you. And as far as what I could see, we got some big things happening here for you tonight, and we're going to go ahead and get into this in just a short bit. But didn't advertise it much on our, trying to get our new artwork together. Eventually down the line, I will be posting our call-in line for those who want to call in and talking with our featured guest, or even if you got a question for me and our new co-host for this evening. Once again, our call-in line will be at 314-764-5540, as it's always been when we started the show. But man, to think about 50 episodes, I mean, it's just, I didn't think I'd even get this far. But it caught on. I liked it. I wanted to showcase a lot of the talent, focusing on, kind of highlighting their careers. And that's basically what the show is all about. And we've gotten some good feedback. And we just kept it going. We're going to keep it going because we want to bring the best to you. And, hear some stories that no one else really knows about. And getting to know, each one of our featured guests that we bring on the show. But enough about that. I actually want to go ahead and we've got some shows coming up here in December. Of course, September. It's another burr, that I, excuse me. I got a lot going on. If you knew what I had got going on today, you'd probably be running in about a few circles yourself. But hey, hey guys, I'll see you guys here in a minute. I'm ruining my own surprises. Look at me go. I think I need to join my co-host and start having a drink. But anyway, as you know, every Sunday is CHWA, Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance, then a 127 West MacArthur in Cottage Hills. Every show they have a show every Sunday. Tickets are $10 for adults, $5 for kids. Doors open at 3, bell time's 3:30. They try to get close to that as much as possible, but things happen, and we get behind on that. We kind of know that we don't start shows on time. SICW will be this Saturday night, September 18th. 2 big matches announced for the SICW Tag Team Championship. We got Gil Rogers and Gary Jackson defending against Chris Hargis and King Casa for the TCO camp. And, of course, the other member of the TCO camp, Attila Khan, with Travis Cook in their corner, will be taking on the Flash Flanagan, who's seeking revenge to get to Travis Cook, but he's got to get through Attila Khan first. And also IEW, they're actually got a show September 18th, this Saturday in Granite City, Illinois, at the Elks Lodge. The show starts at 6. Bell is, I think, doors open at 5. $10 for adults. I think 12 at the door now. $6 for kids. And also with here on next Saturday, September 25th, is IEW Extreme Behavior, the event there at Jacksonville, Illinois, at the Midwest Athletic Center. $10 for kids, $5 for adults. Of course, at the door, $2 more at the door for the adults if you get there. And they will be putting on a good show in Jacksonville, where they haven't been there about it. At least that's the first time IEW will be up in Jacksonville. So best of luck to them on that show. And there's another show happening September 25th. And I'm going to play this for you right now.
September 25th at the Swine Pavilion in Washington, Missouri. ACW presents Night of the Champions, and all tickets are just $5. Marvelous Mark Morgan will take on Gator Smith in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. The Night Train Bomb, Gary Jackson and Brian James will be taking on Rough Cut Rick Ruby and his secret partner. Miss Hyde will defend her ACW Ladies Championship in the first time ever a ladies bull rope match against Riley Knox. The Lumberjacks and their manager Double A will be defending their tag team championship against the Texas Outlaws. And for the first time ever in ACW's history, the world title will be defended in a no-rules ladder match. Playboy Double H is looking to defeat HCW champion Zero Height Guy Smith. More huge matches and stars to be announced. For information, go to acwtheshow@gmail.com. September 25th at the Swine Pavilion in beautiful downtown Washington, Missouri at the City Park. All tickets just $5.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Washington, Missouri for ACW. September 25th, a star-studded card lined up there. And hey, guess what? I still have a mystery partner. You're not going to know who it is until the night of the show. So if you want to find out, come down to the Swine Pavilion. Yes, Piggy. Swine Pavilion is where you need to be on September 25th in Washington, Missouri. So without further ado, I'm going to be bringing on our new co-host. He was actually on the show about about a couple months ago when we did our Hall of Fame show, and he's going to be filling in the shoes for the absent Mr. GQ, who's going to be on a long-term assignment until further notice. And of course, we will always welcome him back. But ladies and gentlemen, our new co-host is none other than the founder of the We Talk Wrestling group here on Facebook. Give it up for Z-Miz, everybody. What's up, bud? I think I muted. Hold on, brother. Now I got you. Okay. Yeah, I muted you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. What's going on? How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. So now when you did the show when with the Hall of Fame show, because obviously I don't want to be a guest. I don't want to be the host of, if I'm going to be a guest of my own show, I definitely don't want to be hosting it. So we didn't get to know much about you. GQ didn't give a damn, but I do. So, but kind of tell the people your how you found it. Well, first off, your background with wrestling and how you came about with the formation of We Talk Wrestling here.
So I had this brittle old great grandmother who basically got me into wrestling. Her and my father are the ones that indoctrinized me into wrestling to be the fan, right?
Right.
And it just spread from there. I was addicted. I think my first match recall was it was Lex Luger coming to WCW for the first time. So when he came back, when Nitro, the first episode of Nitro.
Yeah.
So I am a WCW kid through and through. Ric Flair was my go-to dude. Like, I was all about the Four Horsemen as a kid. And then pan forward to the future, me and my buddies would get together, watch pay-per-views. Well, there was never time for us to hang out and like talk crap about our wrestlers and what we liked about wrestling. So I decided to make We Talk Wrestling, and it was literally just made for me and my 10 buddies to BS each other on who we liked, why we liked them, and make fun of everybody else that we didn't like. So, and now I think we're at 1,500 people now, in an 8-year process of literally not promoting it. We didn't do anything to promote it. It's grown organically 100%. And everyone at We Talk Wrestling, I love them from the admin all the way down to everyone else, because we have at We Talk Wrestling, we believe the fans are the admins of the group. We keep each other in check. We don't bully. We don't talk down to people if you like somebody differently and I don't. Cool, that's your right. Like it's very organically about what wrestling should be about, and it's about every company being cool in their own right. Sorry, I burped.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, opinions are like, any other body part you want to name. Well, not everybody's got certain parts, but but I totally get it, man. Yeah, I mean, it's good to have you on, and hopefully, getting in here with our featured guest here tonight. I mean, you're going to hear some really good stories with our featured guest, who is actually waiting in the wings. And we're going to go ahead and get him on. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our featured guest this evening has actually been wrestling since the start of the millennium. He's been trained by some of the greats here in the Midwest. He's held several singles titles, tag titles, and even crowned a Battle Royal champion. He's actually going to be one half of the Texas Outlaws challenging for the ACW tag team titles on September 25th in Washington. And, of course, he'll be at SICW this Saturday night at the East Crown Select Community Center. Everybody give it up for the Big Texan. I think I did everything here. I muted everybody accidentally, but I think you're good now, Texan. Sorry, bud.
You're fine.
Yeah. I think I'm losing.
How's everyone tonight?
I'm doing good, man. How are things going with you?
I cannot complain. It's been a great year so far, even with the whole COVID thing, and it's just looking brighter and brighter.
Oh man, yeah, we definitely got a lot to talk about, because there's some. I mean, this is only September, and there's still a lot of big things to happen still in 2021, and we'll get to that here in just a moment. And because we're going to tell you, we're taking a step aside from the ring side, from any type of competition. We want to reflect on what you've done so far in this business. And, that's the whole goal, once again, of this podcast. And it's a lot of great guys that have come in and made their contributions that why we keep going today. And I'd like to thank you for taking the time to doing that, to kind of share with us here tonight. So just want to give a special shout out here to Vader from Outside the Ring STL. I was on there earlier tonight talking some WWE stuff, and well, I'll tell you what, if we have more than 2 hours, I can go on and on and on about some things. There's so many things of need fixing in one certain promotion, but I'm not going to worry about that tonight. Now, if I had a nickel for every word I had to say about somebody, I think I could retire. But but hey, but let's go and get things started off here for you. So kind of tell us when you started watching wrestling on TV, who got you interested in watching it, and who were your favorite wrestlers to watch?
All right. Well, unlike your sidekick here, I actually grew up a WWE guy or WWF guy. It's kind of hard. So when I was growing up, my father was big into wrestling.
Yeah.
Of course, he was wrestling at the Chase through and through. But after wrestling at the Chase, of course, went off the air. We would watch the replays together, and then he switched to a WWF guy. So I followed suit. That was our special time. We would turn on wrestling, and that would be, he worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. And even though he worked 2 jobs, that was our bonding time. So that's what we did. But which helped it out even more, my father has the same haircut style as I did, as I do, except for he would grow it long on the sides and the back. And he spent all of his day job, he spent swinging a hammer. So he had the forearms, the biceps. He was my Hulk Hogan. And, he had the same hairstyle as him, the same shape and form. And he was someone I looked up to. And I just put 2 to 2 together, and he was my Hulk Hogan. So that's what got it. If you were to look around my house, you would see a whole lot of Hulk Hogan stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was a Hulk Hogan mark when I first got in and started watching it too. I
didn't switch to WCW until I actually started working. Because once you start working in the business, then you got to realize, oh shit, there's holds, there's moves.
Yeah,
I actually got to work.
Right.
WWF was the glitz and the glamour, but WCW was the wrestling. So I had to change my whole little thing there and start becoming a WCW guy.
Yeah, and it all started in '84 for me, and then whenever WWF, and I will still say WWF, you don't like it, sorry, Titan. But the thing is that when they had that short stint on the Superstation, when it was WTBS, and you got it through cable, and I was seeing a lot of the shows, and you won't be able to see those shows anywhere. Someone somehow bootlegs them up to a server, but you might only see that one whenever they did that invasion when Vince McMahon kicked off Georgia Championship Wrestling at that time, and then whenever their time was done, I think they had that 1 year, and then they brought back. The NWA. I mean, Georgia was now, the big NWA territory, right? Because at that time, the St. Louis Wrestling Club is done. St. Louis is not really that much known for an NWA territory anymore. I mean, they still kept them involved, but they moved it down south, around Atlanta, where Ted Turner and everybody else has got the money, and they bought whatever they had from them. But then I got disappointed one night, because I was expecting, the guys to come on to do Stewart, and it's the same show, and I'm like, who are these guys? Who is this, like, Midnight Express? Who's this Outlaw Ron Bass? Who is this? Like, what is this? It's like I'm expecting like the Junkyard Dog, and I'm expecting like Tito Santana, and nobody, and that's how I accidentally got hooked in with NWA, and I'm like, well, great. Now I got 2 different things I can watch, and then And then it was like later on that year in in 84, I ran into World Class by watching Channel 30, here in St. Louis. So it's like I had 3 different promotions I could watch wrestling on, and I was
Right.
So
I remember watching the World Class. I would have to skip. I mean, I would be homesick, not skip school. I would be homesick, and it would be on during the day. So that would be how I'd be able to watch that wrestling show.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird, but yeah, I remember watching that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to let you know, you got one of your opponents here in about 9 days watching along with us here tonight. Which we're gonna talk about that because they made a video on ACW's Facebook page here today, and I've got some questions for that toward the end of our interview.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because I'm kind of intrigued too, because I was actually, let's just say I was in Branson too. I know what happened, and yada yada. But we'll talk to that here in a bit. But I know I'll be kind of rambling on and on. But I think Z-Miz has got our next question here for you.
Sure.
Yeah. First off, I was a WCW ECW kid, so I bounced between both.
Well, ECW didn't come along until we were there.
Yeah.
But what piqued your interest in getting into and starting in the business?
All right. Well, so this is going to be a long story.
We got time.
All right. So I ain't going to do like the 2-hour or 4-hour like Herb and everyone else does.
Come on.
They're going to win that one.
Yeah, I'm picking on Herb.
But I'll tell you what. So, growing up watching wrestling, my father bought me all the wrestling figures. I mean, I had everyone, the LGNs, and then the Hasbros. Yeah. I had the buddies. Matter of fact, I still got my buddies.
No. Oh, I got DDP upstairs.
Yeah.
I forgot WCW was making those towards in the 90s.
I had Hogan and Warrior too, and Macho Man.
Wow.
Well, I don't have the Macho Man, but here's the Warrior.
Wow.
I always wanted the Ted DiBiase.
Oh yeah.
Or even Legion of Doom. They had Legion of Doom ones too, so that would have been cool. But yeah, so watching it, playing with the wrestlers. I always hung out with my older brother and his friends, and they were always wrestling around. So I was always wrestling around. But I used to, when I first started working an actual 9-to-5 job, I was managing a Valvoline, an oil change place. And an independent wrestler came through, and I've always been a big guy. And he looked at me, he goes, "Have you ever thought about wrestling?" And I said, "Every day, And so this guy goes, "Hey, I'm trying to start a federation. Meet me at such and such place, and you'll meet the other guys that are involved, and we'll try to get it off the ground. And he'll train me." Well, if I only knew what his training and his federation was going to be. But so we started training at the YMCA up here in Belleville, and there was no ring, there was no really mats. It was that like wrestling mat on a concrete floor, and he would teach us how to do the body slams and the wrestling holds. But I mean, it's that really thin little mat, and then you're landing on concrete. I'm thinking, wow, this is horrible. How can you learn and all that stuff off of that?
Oh my god!
Yeah, but
wow. I mean, how long did it take an average guy just to even do like a body slam right? I mean, this is like amateur, like high school wrestling man on a concrete floor.
And it wasn't even like the amateur mats, because the amateur mats still had a nice give to them.
I still wouldn't do that crap. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was part of being young and dumb.
Right.
Not knowing any better. You just want to get in. But everything seemed to be falling apart with this guy. I still remember his name, and actually I found his picture, but it's downstairs. His name was Blade. I only knew him for about 6 months because I have no idea where he's been. He's probably, I hate to say it, but he's probably in jail or something. Because a few weeks of us going to the Y to train, the Y, I stepped foot in there and they were like, you guys can't practice here anymore. It's like, why can't we practice here? And he goes, the person at the Y goes, well, the guy who's been teaching you, his checks have been bouncing. And we got to the point where we're not going to accept you guys because we're not making that money. It's like, all right. So we contacted him and he decided we were going to meet up in the mall in St. Clair and Fairview Heights. And he would go over everything there. And he promised you everything, just like a shady promoter would do, you know, promise you the whole world. But it never came true. He even went to, we had this thing out in Hooters where all the wrestlers, kind of wrestlers, went there and he was doing a little promotional thing. And I found out his stuff bounced there too. So I was like, wow, I need to kind of get away from this guy. But wow. I got to give him his due because he's the one that hooked me up with South Broadway in a way. So after the Y canceled out and all the training kind of stopped, he goes, I got one other place we can go and learn how to train, and it's actually a ring inside. That's awesome. So we go there, and it's South Broadway. Now, not actually where they do the shows, but they used to have a building like 3 or 4 blocks down.
Yeah, down closer to the highway. Yeah.
Yeah. And they did the boxing there. They did the MMA, and then they did wrestling, of course. So he brings us in there, and this is like at night, like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And, he opens the door, and, well, actually, I guess the boxers were still in there. So the door was open. So we went in and got our first taste of what a ring felt like, you know. And we started doing that probably 2 or 3 times a week. And then I realized this guy had no permission to be there. So we're at Broadway one night, and we're trying to practice. And I say try because there's, knowing now what I know, he didn't even know how to train right. So, but so we were there, and all these other wrestlers started showing up, and so start talking to them, and they hop in the ring and start showing us different moves. And then Tony Costa walks in, and first thing he does is he looks at Blade and he goes, "What the hell you doing here?" And unbeknownst to us, evidently he had worked for Broadway for a while and got kicked out and was not supposed to be there or have the right to even train anyone there. So Tony looked at us and said, "Are you guys all with him?" And we're like, "Yeah." "See ya. Get out of my ring." And that was the first time I got kicked out of Broadway. Wouldn't be the last time, but that's the first time I got kicked out of Broadway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so the story even continues. I didn't even know about Broadway, the show. All I knew was that training center. Yeah. So I started getting on the web, MySpace and stuff like that. That's how old I am. So I find out that there's a wrestling show in St. Louis right down the street from where the training facility was. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to go to this. So I hopped in my car and I took off, and I couldn't find the place. And then on the corner there, I seen the building that said Wrestling Tonight, MMWA Wrestling. So I was like, this has got to be it. So I get out of my car, park, and go up to the door, and knocked on the door. Someone actually was standing in there, so they opened the door. I said, "Is this where Gateway Championship Wrestling is?" And they're like, no, this is MMWA. Gateway's a couple blocks down. I said, okay, thank you. Turn around and went to Gateway.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that particular night, I didn't know it, but they had, Gateway had a show going on and Broadway had a show going on.
2 blocks away?
Yeah, it was like 4 blocks away. It's like,
I mean, that's still close.
Yes, it was crazy.
God.
But I had heard about Gateway, and I still didn't know about MMWA. Now I knew of Broadway, but I didn't put the two together. That was the same company. I was looking for Gateway, so I get the Gateway, and man, they just put on a hell of a show. And that even drew me more into wanting to be one. The one thing I will never forget, my first local show was Gateway. And their champion, which is Kevin X, he had the belt and he was sitting outside as everyone was going in, and he was talking to everyone, shaking everyone's hand. It's like, that's their champion, and he's socializing with us peons, us fans, and it was just awesome. And then I found out that Broadway and MMWA was the same place, and I couldn't train anywhere for Gateway, so I had to go back to Broadway. Yeah. So I had to find a way back in.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So did you actually see that GCW show that night? I mean, was it?
That was my whole goal, and yes, I watched it all. It was I think it was called Aggies. I want to say it was Aggies. It had a balcony in the back, and that show, I mean, they had people jumping off the balcony. It was just crazy. It was just, for someone seeing WWE wrestling, WWF wrestling, and then going to a local show and them just being so cool and crazy, that's, where do I sign up? I need to be in this,
Yeah. Yeah, GCW implemented a lot of what ECW was in the 90s. They did a lot of extreme. They were pretty brass with their attitudes and their storylines, and I don't know. To me, I didn't want to be that bold, because to me, I didn't. I mean, as far as like with that, because I wanted to. I was trying to get people to come that wouldn't, crap themselves if they saw what was going on,
Well,
we got a house worker named Richard Head, What do you do?
I didn't see any of their adult shows, so I don't know anything about that. I mean, I heard rumors about a whole bunch of stuff about those adult shows.
Oh,
but I think I was 18 or 19 at the time. So it was cool to see and watch and actually get to meet the people. It was so cool to be able to meet them. They were standing there waiting for you to walk through the door. It was just awesome.
Wow. So that was pretty much the story. You were going in to see GCW, and it was like, no, this is MMWA, and then they were 4 blocks away from each other on Broadway on the same night. That's insane. That's insane. I mean, I knew that I knew Ben would kind of directly, compete like that, but I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They talk about saturation nowadays. I mean,
right.
It was right down the street.
I know. God.
But so me being, I think I was 19, and just got kicked out of Broadway. So I was like, I took a pause on it because I didn't know what I should do to get back in, because the promoter, Tony, just threw me out, and I didn't know anyone else, but I wanted in. So I took it upon myself to go there. And I think I started going there like 6 months, maybe 8 months before I got the courage up to go there by myself again. And I just started showing up. And eventually, the head trainer down there was Gino, or they called him the Exterminator. Yeah. And he was a very rough son of a bitch. I tell you that. I love the guy to death, though. But after everyone got done training, then he would bring me in. That way, All the people that had a show coming up, they got to work out the kinks and stuff like that. And then I wasn't in anyone's way. And just being in there just a little bit with Gino, then all of a sudden they opened up a class, and so there was like 12 of us. And then we were just going there every night. He made us go there every night. And Gino was a hard ass, I guess you would say, because he would make you do sit-ups off the edge of the ring. He would make you do calisthenics before you got into the ring. The Hindu squats. Oh my God, my knees will still scream now. Just doing all the Hindu squats he made us do. But so I'm in there and practicing, and there's 12 of us. And as we're going through, the days, the weeks, people just start dropping off. And that was his goal. He'll tell you out front, my goal is to get you to quit. If you got the courage and the guts, you'll come back and you'll finish your training, just old school ways. And so I kept coming back. And I tell you, they called it Hell Week. Where you would be in the middle of the ring and everyone there, veterans, rookies, whoever was there. If you're in the middle of the ring, then you got clothesline by everyone. You got power slam by everyone. You got body slam by everyone. And that was every day until he can get you to quit, And me and one other person stayed, and his wrestling name is Jerome Cody.
Yeah.
You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
So me and him, last ones to stay, and this is probably 2 months after I started doing this. And one night, little Tony comes in. This place is packed with a whole bunch of veterans, with me and Jerome. And Gino goes, hey, these are my new guys. They've been sticking around. Tony goes, all right, you guys, let's see what you can do. Have a little match. So me and Jerome just did what we knew, or at least what we thought we knew. And at the end of the match, Tony looked at us and says, you're not good enough. Get out of here. Second time kicked out of Broadway.
Wow.
Yeah. Talking about crushing your dreams repeatedly.
Man, I know, right? Yeah. Man, wow. So already 2 times kicked out of Broadway. But now as far as, you mentioned Gino, rest his soul. He I was in a ring with him like a couple times, over in RCW. Actually doing hardcore matches with him.
Really?
Yeah. I was actually a hardcore champion. Poor guy, and at the time, right before I was getting married to my first wife, I had a match 3 days before in Grand City. I think it was like the Knights of Columbus or something, and she was like scared, like pretty much shitless. And she's like, "Please don't hurt him. Please don't make him. Please don't make him bleed." I'm like, "Oh God!" I was like, "Did you really just go up to him and say that?"
Yeah, because knowing Gino, that's probably what he wanted you to do that night too. After that, bleeding? He's bleeding.
Oh yeah. So, because the hardcore title at the time was all made up in barbed wire. It said the word hardcore painted in red. And I had the title. So it's like I had a shirt, I had a baggy shirt at the time, but I didn't really care. It was a junk shirt, it was sleeveless, I don't care. So I wore the belt. And granted, part of the match that I had, I took it and I was trying to, kind of sell a little bit was I raked the belt across the face, whatever. Yeah, actually, accidentally pierced his nose. So, God bless him. Well, I never lived that down. I'm like, yeah, please don't make me bleed. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Kind of
I never had a physical match with Gino, like not on a card, but since I had stuck around the longest, all of our personal matches in the practice ring, I mean, they were hard, and he beat the crap out of me, I'll tell you. But I respect him for that because I respect my training that I had back then. Because I don't see that much training nowadays. You know, it's at least not that way. You know, Gino had false teeth, and somewhere in the middle of the match, you were guaranteed that he was going to take those out and rub them across your forehead. You know, something gross, and you know, but you know, people like Rick Brewer, he would give you little hints and things to do, things to tweak, and then he also taught me things to protect yourself too. Because back in the day, you know, if they wanted, if they had personal heat against you or something, you never knew what was going to happen. And I'll never forget it. He come up to me and he raked my eyes, and my eyes were just burning. And I was like, "What did you do?" He goes, "The lemon juice." He had soaked his hands in lemon juice before practicing with me, and then raked my eyes so I would have the lemon juice in them.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah,
what a dick.
Hard training. That's yeah, I mean that, but I loved it. You know, I've got a.
Oh my God!
What an annoying scumbag!
I tell you, I miss these days though, because I don't know if I can show this to you.
Yeah.
So this is an old card. Jerome Cody, of course. Philly Blunt. He trained me a lot.
Yeah.
And then, of course, well, that's Big Texan there. But Johnny Courageous, he was a big part of my training. Well, this one has Future. You know what happened to Future.
Yep.
Tommy Knight came in. Wild Child. Brian Skrilla, he was a big part of my training. SB, Lightfoot, Moondog. Everyone showed up there. And Lightfoot was there with me so much, helping me train and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually I found my way back to Broadway. And started actually training me better. But so, and I have to thank one person for that. So at the point where me and Jerome, we thought we were decent enough to have a match, even though Tony didn't like us, we started working for RCW. So we were doing little shows for them, not getting paid much, you know, a couple dollars here or some coupons there, or there's some hot dogs left in the back, you know. But I started doing that for Frank, started wrestling there, and Shaft came one show and seen me working and invited me back to Broadway. So I do have to give credit for Shaft for getting me back in the door for the third time. For the third time. But yeah, and that's when once I came back the third time, that's when they knew I was in. Even Tony said, you know, basically he sat me down one day and said, "Sorry about your luck." You know, he goes, "I don't really pay attention to faces or who it is, so you just happen to get, you know, the 2 strikes out the door." But he didn't even know who I was. He didn't know who Jim was. He just seen, like the first time, he just seen a bunch of people that he thought shouldn't be there, and so he just kicked us out. And then the second time, he thought that me and Jerome had been there longer than what we had been, and since we didn't pick up to his standards, we were gone. You know, but the third time, I guess, and Shaft might have had a little bit more to do with this than I even know, but he was the one that seen my match and told me to come back. And then I started training really hard, you know, training with Gary Jackson, and then training with, you know, Lightfoot a lot more, just learning the craft.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, sorry, I had to. I was listening and paying attention, and yet someone needed my attention off camera. So,
Yeah, that's all right.
you know, so that's why, you know, you see the John Cena, because you can't see me. So, but now I'm back. So yeah, so you had a lot of guys that, you know, to help you out, and trust me, yeah, you know, Lightfoot's a really good trainer. So there I am. I'm back. All right, so I'm going to throw it over to Z-Miz for his next question here for you, Texan.
Sure.
Tell us your memories of your first match, who it was and what stands out in that match particularly.
Well, Johnny Courageous had taken over for Gino because Gino had went through some problems. He was still officially a member of Broadway, but he had got ousted for a little while. Not to bring up hard issues or anything, but there was another class after I left. And same thing, it's a decent sized class. And then they would do their Hell Week. And sometimes that one Hell Week would last a whole month, just again to get you to quit. And that next class had a guy in there that I guess Gino power bombed one too many times, and he got concussed. And when he went home, he ended up passing away. And so I don't know if it was Gino. I mean, we all signed waivers when we first started training,
Yeah.
So Broadway was clear of it because the guy signed a waiver. But I think they put Gino on the back burner for a while, just until the air and the dust can settle. So when Shaft brought me back, the main trainer was Johnny Courageous. If you remember back in the day, Johnny Courageous was the Dirt Cheap Chicken guy. Every Dirt Cheap Chicken commercial, it was always Johnny Courageous in that commercial. But my first match was with the trainer. So I fought Johnny Courageous during it. And I think we went about 20, 25 minutes. And I can guarantee you, even though Johnny was a skinny little guy, he carried me through that match because, you don't know what works and what clicks right after certain moves right from the get-go, so you don't know that combination, like that Mortal Kombat combination where you get all those moves all in a row. So Johnny had actually worked with me and walked me through that match. It was a great match because when I was going through my training, I started showing up to all Broadway shows. And so just watching the shows and hoping one day to be in that ring. My first match being in that ring, I was like thrilled and awestruck. At the same time, I was trying to work a match, so I owe a lot to Johnny. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, man. I remember Johnny Courageous. I remember a lot of those guys back around that area. I think I was watching around 2006, 2007, something like that. Just trying to see, where I could be in Missouri because I was doing working for Midwest Powerhouse Wrestling, and then they defuncted.
I wish I heard so many of you guys telling stories about that promotion. I kind of wish I was seen it or was able to work it or something just to get into that atmosphere.
Yeah,
every promotion has a different atmosphere, and I'm sure missed it, And the way I always hear you guys talk about it, it was a fun place to work.
Yeah, it was. It was, and a lot of good young guys coming up. They were just they were just younger than me in the early 20s. Had a lot of energy. Did a lot, and Searcher was basically booking. Trying to work all these matches, and he knew what worked, and So I mean, Chris Powell was the promoter at that time, and then when they stopped after, I think it was October 2005 was their last show, and then it went over. They tried carrying the ring to another promotion, was mainly in Illinois. It still has some of the guys that still a lot of guys that went over with that. But yeah, but then Chris Powell became a state inspector, and
Yeah, that's all I remember him from is
Yeah.
being a state inspector.
yeah, but no, it's no, we've got our stories about Chris Powell as the promoter in WPW. Trust me,
I bet.
we've got some for sure. But you know, he worked his butt off. You know, and it's not easy to promote and run shows in Missouri. Even back then, it wasn't. So yeah. So I'm going to get in here now. So 2 years ago, there was a documentary that you starred in that focused on the life of an independent wrestler, and of course, starred you, following you around. So, how did it feel to have your wrestling career showcased by an independent filming group, and do you feel that they presented your story well?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you how that started.
Yeah.
I was working a show for Herb Simmons, SICW,
Yeah.
and my wife was sitting in the crowd. You know, I always wore a mask or a hood, so no one knew who I was until later on. Of course, no one knew who my wife was, but a news reporter just happened to be the one sitting next to my wife.
Yeah.
And he was just for the paper, you know, for the News Democrat. And so he wasn't really able to watch the matches because he kept writing everything down.
Right.
So like who won, what move he thought they did, and my wife overheard him say, "Man, it would be nice to meet one of these guys." And so my wife pecked up and said, "Hey, my husband is one." And so after the show, she, you know, called me up in the back and said, "Hey, this guy would love to meet you. Maybe possibility he might be doing a story of about wrestling." And me being in the hood, I said, "I'll meet him and I'll talk to him, but I'll be in my gear because I don't want anyone to know anything, you know,
Mhm.
especially
Right.
with reporters. You know, you just never know how they're going to take things."
Right.
So we talked there, and then I invited him over to my house one evening, and we talked for me to kind of get an aspect of where he was going to go with this, you know, because I didn't want to be the wrestler that beat the crap out of a reporter just to show him it was real, you know.
You didn't want to pull a Dr. D?
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. Dr. D makes a lot more money than I do, so.
Right.
But yeah, so he said, "I would love to do a story on you." He said, "I can get you in the News Democrat, and we might be able to do like a paragraph every Sunday in the sports section or something." And I said, "You know, that's fine with me." And so I gave him a list of all my dates, and he didn't come to all of them. He would just pop in and write something up about me. And then one time he called me up. He goes, "I'm thinking about doing a movie, like a documentary movie, and just following you around. I want you to be the star of it." And he goes, "That means you'll have to open up to me a little bit more, and we'll have to get a little bit inside of your family and you know how you wanted to be a wrestler and everything." And so now we're friends because I had to share so much to him, and he's been over to my house. He's been over to my parents' house. Been at that time. Then he started coming to every show, wherever I was. So he would make it to the Broadway show, or he would make it to SICW show. And I think he did an excellent story, and evidently, because he put it in through a couple film festivals, and it kept winning. I mean, it kept placing either first or third, and kept moving up. And then finally, he made it to one where we were going to move on to. It was a Missouri festival, and he was going to take it to another state, but then COVID hit. So it kind of just like, I thought, man, this is great. This is moving up, and no one really actually seen a lot of it. The last time it was showed, Some people came, Herb came, some other Gary Jackson came and seen it. So everyone knows it's legit. But since COVID hit, no one has really been able to really see it. So I'm waiting for it to come out again. But since I knew I was going to be on your podcast, I actually called him up because he's living in California now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I called him up. I said, so what's the story about this? Are we going to, because he was thinking after all the film festivals, he was going to release it to like YouTube, and then everyone would be able to see it after that, But he told me that everything's opening back up, so he wants to hit it in a couple more festivals and see what he can get out of it. And then the whole idea is to release it on YouTube.
Oh,
Nice.
God. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dying at the bit too, because I'm like, man, is this available somewhere? But if he's, it's kind of sucks when we get somebody who's, filmed it and you sign your rights away, saying that it's basically their material, even though it's your story, that he can't even give a personal copy to you or
right. The only thing I was able to get is some of the photographs of the matches that I had while he was following me. I've got those photographs. I've got they had for the film festival, they had posters made advertising each film, and I got one of those. So just little knickknack things. But another thing that came out of that film festival was he was friends with the guy from the Riverfront Times.
yeah.
So I ended up getting on the cover of the Riverfront Times for it. So I mean, it just kept building and building, and so I thought that year I was going to be hot. Everyone was going to know me. Everyone was going to be able to read about me and see me on film. And like I said, COVID hit and nothing. It was totally bad timing.
Oh yeah. You're not kidding there, boy. Oh
yeah. I mean, I thought for sure it was going to be the Big Texans year. I was even Broadway or MMWA's heavyweight champion at the time too. When all this stuff was going on, I'm thinking you can't get any better than this.
Yeah.
You're the champion. You in the movie and in the paper. I was everywhere, and then nowhere. Kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well. Man, well, I mean, we'll definitely be chopping at the bit to look at that if they release everything up. I mean, if he's over in California, things are going to start opening up in California. Well, I just hope it's successful. I hope he gets a lot out of that. But at least we definitely would like to see it because
and besides following me, I mean, everyone was in it. SB was in it. Curtis Wilde was in it. Gary Jackson was in it. So there's a lot of wrestlers time capsuled into that thing too. So I mean, when it comes out, everyone will be able to get a little sneak peek of them being in it.
Right. Yeah. And I got Shaft is actually watching the show here tonight. He says nothing but respect for you, Texan. And for what you've done so far in the business and all that you accomplished. So,
and like I said, Shaft is the one that got me back into Broadway, which pretty much boosted my career. So
yeah,
I got to give props back to him. So
he's good. I mean, heck, he let me talk on the show tonight. So
I keep telling him, I put him in retirement once, and he keeps talking about coming back out, and I keep telling him, you come back out, I'm gonna have to put him back in. So
well, I mean. He came back out. They came and put him back in retirement, and then
I know I got a little jealous. I'll tell you because I was in the locker room that night, and I was like, I was supposed to be the one putting you back in retirement.
I know, but what do you do? I mean, heck, at least, Shaft. He chose to pick his matches. That's for sure. Once he came back, so I mean,
right.
I don't know. If he comes back again, I'll be surprised. No disrespect to Shaft, but I'm just saying, we tease him a lot about in fact, Vader teases him a lot about coming out of retirement. Man, don't leave him alone. Leave him alone.
He's got it made right now. He's got it made. He's the commissioner.
Yes, commissioner of MMWA and IEW. He's hosting the show. He likes to rough now.
Yeah, so he's got his hands tied.
He's busy. Don't knock the man down. He's had enough knocking down. I mean, heck, the guy, he got into the business at 45 years old. I mean, my God, I mean that's nuts in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he beat DDP. DDP was the oldest one until him.
Right. Yeah. We thought DDP was crazy coming in at 35. Shoot.
Right.
That was just nuts. So yeah, so we mentioned, so you mentioned some of the promotions that you've been around. I mean, MMWA, SICW, RCW, even, with ACW now, with you now uniting with Hawk Elliott as the Texas Outlaws, WOE just across the river, Centerville, New Breed Wrestling, MECW, and even possibly a branch of the MWA. I'm thinking possibly Central States, possibly.
It might have been because I knowing I was coming on here, I was trying to research, and I blame a lot of chair shots. So I can't remember just about everything, but I know I did a stint in the NWA. It might have been Central States.
Yeah.
But did that, and I know there's probably promotions that I've worked for that I done forgot, because when I first got out there, before I went back to Broadway, and even when I was at Broadway, the first couple months of or so, I did anything I can get my hands in. So if you called me up, and even if I knew I wasn't going to get paid or paid well or got hot dogs for my payment, I still went out there and did it.
Yeah.
And and I think you got to do that when you first start. One, paying your dues, I guess, but you're nothing to the promoter, so they're giving you the opportunity to be on their show as a rookie. So anywhere that I could get booked, I was booked. If I had to drive, if I had to share a car with someone, I went.
Yeah.
And I wrestled in some 10 crowd shows before, and then you get Broadway or SICW that draws hundreds. I've wrestled in few and many. So
yeah, absolutely. And I've actually put on a call-in lineup, and we've actually got a caller on the line, so we're going to go bring them on. And you've got the Falls County Everywhere podcast. Who do we've got on the line?
Well, Rough Cut, Well Texan is the one and only Shaft.
Yeah, that's mom, buddy.
Well, it's just listening to the Big Texan. Yeah, he was in the house when came and put me in retirement, but he was moving a little bit too slow, so came and beat him to the punch on putting me in retirement. But I'm not coming out of retirement, because if I do, the Big Texan has a big bullseye on him.
Oh,
but
I got the bullseye.
But yes, but like I commented, nothing but respect, nothing but love for you and everything. And we've been in this business a long time, and I can honestly say that a gentle giant and everything, and nothing but respect and much love, and just keep doing what you're doing. But there's only one thing. I don't know why you got GQ to manage the Texas Outlaw, because that hat is too tight on his head. He won't be thinking right.
Well, so I don't know if the last match I had was shown or not, but GQ paid me off on that one. So I think it's going to be, instead of the wrestler paying the manager, I think it's going to be the other way around for a while.
So you say he paid you off? See, everybody paid me off, but nobody paid me off. But you honestly gonna say GQ paid you off? You still
he paid me to be the manager. Yeah. Well, in order to be my manager, he had to pay me. So,
but nothing but the best for you, and just keep up the good work, cause the sky's the limit, and you've been there, done that. You've had numerous titles and everything. So one will be coming back your way soon. You know, don't know which one, but I'm quite sure you're gonna get something.
Thank you, sir.
And I just want to say thank you, and nothing but much love for you, Rick Ruby, and everything, because, you know, we in this to have fun. You know, you got your podcast, I got mine, and we running neck and neck and just having fun at what we do.
There you go. Yep.
And to the new young man, you got to get with the program. Go on and get down. You know, hey, have fun and just keep doing what you're doing. Now, I want to thank y'all for accepting the call this evening, and I'm gonna finish listening to the show.
All right, Chef. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, bud. All righty, so that's Shaft there, and of course, that's one of Texans. Shaft was technically one of his opponents was Big Texan, so good to see him there. Hopefully, we're not having a problem with Facebook here. I'm all of a sudden, the viewership dropped. I don't know what happened there. I can't blame it on GQ this week. Maybe
it's all on you, actually.
Yeah, it probably so. It's like I'm tired of hearing it. Yeah, Ruby needs to shut up. Well, I got to kind of help guide the ship here a little bit. But yeah, we're mentioning titles and everything. Tag titles. In New Breed as multi-state champion, tag champs, MMWA. With Waco and Tony Raves, and with an RCW and heavyweight title in MMWA. So, out of all of those, what would you say is your most memorable, or is there any championship win that stands out to you as your most memorable one to you?
Well, of course, your first one always stands out, and that was,
of course,
it was a battle royal one for Broadway and for MMWA, back when they carried a Royal Rumble type of belt. And I got that one first, and that was awesome, just being able to say you held a title for them. But of course, the heavyweight championship meant the most, because I put in my work. I bruised my body, did the whole blood, sweat, and tears thing, and when I won that one. At the time, Broadway is what I held up high. Out of all the little promotions that I worked for, working for MMWA, that was my goal, and to win their top prize, that was just the best thing in the world. But now I got a new top prize that I'm looking for, and that's through SICW, because now, in my eyes and a lot of other people's eyes, it's switched from MMWA to SICW. So their top prize, their classic St. Louis Classic Championship belt, I'm going to go for that, and that'll be my done everything I need to do. And then they also got the Central States title that's coming out too. I would love to have my hands on that too. I've been in it a long time, just like you, and our bodies are not. At least mine. I have to speak for mine. I've had so many injuries.
We'll get into
my body's not in great working order anymore. So I know I only got a few years left. So I got to give me a goal, and my goal is those two belts.
We'll get into that here in a short bit. But I wanted to kind of mention with the battle royal the 2-ring battle royal that's going to coming up to be called the NWA Central States Championship. Apparently, that was just announced on the SICW All-Star Wrestling this past week. So with that 2-man battle royal that's going to be at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds in Belleville, Illinois on October 30th. There's going to be a lot of festivities. There's going to be trunk or treat for the kids. I think starting at 4 and everything else. There will be a card. But a 2-ring battle royal is the main event.
Can you imagine that? I mean, there's only been one other one here in the St. Louis area, and that was by Larry Madison.
Yeah.
And now Herb is doing the second one. And I mean, this is going to be the show to go to. I don't know if you list off everyone that's going to be there, but if you're a fan of wrestling, especially back in the 80s, this is a show to go to. You got a list of everyone? Because I'm pretty much got them memorized. You got Rock and Roll Express going to be there.
Yeah.
Demolition's going to be there.
Yeah.
Jerry the King Lawler, Haku, Sergeant Slaughter, a person that I've personally wrestled, Greg the Hammer Valentine. He's going to be there.
Yeah.
Sorry, just piqued my nerdism.
Not a problem. Of course, Bob Orton Jr. is going to be there. Jimmy Hart's going to be there. I mean, I've wrestled Bob Orton Jr. I've wrestled Greg the Hammer Valentine. So that's just going to be cool to see them again. Of course, they wrestle people all the time, so they probably don't remember me. But me being able to see them again after I've been in the ring with them, I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see. But I guess a couple people that were not mentioned, I thought, were the Nasty Boys. Those. Yeah, then of course we're hoping that Brian Knobbs is getting better with his health. By the way, for a speedy recovery for Brian Knobbs overall. For some reason he doesn't make the show. We want him to make it through. But you're talking about 12 legends that are going to be there just for appearances and autographs and all that. And then you got this big show. I mean, what was it, 2 years ago when it happened? I mean, you had Tommy Dreamer versus Attila Khan. I mean, my God. That match was, that match was spectacular.
Yeah,
between Dreamer and Khan, and right now, I mean, Attila will be on the loose, from what I hear, again on October 30th, and who knows, but I will plan to be on that show. I will be in the 2-ring battle royal, and trust me, there's a prestige. I mean, even if it's the NWA Central States title, if it's still gonna, because I don't believe there's I don't know if it's just gonna be SICW Central States title or if it's an NWA branch. That's the only thing I'm just kind of confused about.
Well, so there's a lot of people from everywhere coming to be in this show. So there's people coming up from Memphis. There's people coming from Missouri. There's people coming from Indiana. So,
Man, if it was an NWA labeled belt, because it's possible because Herb Simmons had a lot to do. I had a lot of activity this past when the NWA Wrestling at the Chase, was for the NWA 73. He had a lot of interaction. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of intrigued. I mean, either way, even if it's still an SICW Central States Championship, I mean, that's still a prestigious title. Either way.
You figure it's still going to have the lineage.
Yeah.
So it's still going to have, Harley Race's name on that thing. It's still going to have Bob Sr., Bob Orton Sr.'s name on that thing. He's the one that. So it's still going to have the prestige.
I mean, that's definitely a stepping stone for around this area. And
right. And for a while there, the Central States and the Missouri heavyweight title was pretty much the same thing too. I mean, they changed the name a couple times, but so you had Sam doing the Missouri heavyweight, but before it was the Missouri, it was kind of the Central States. And then after the Missouri went away, it kind of went back to the Central States, but they recognized it all at one lineage. So, I mean, the people that wore that belt, it'll just be an honor to win that thing.
That's still. I mean, but the artwork of that belt, I mean, is one. It's probably one of my favorite territorial belts, to be honest, in the NWA. I mean, something about the Central States and the Western States. And even with the Mid-Atlantic, I mean, those are three classy belts that the NWA had for territories. If you get a chance to look at those, and
Yeah.
really good artwork on all those and the way it was presented. So, but yeah, awesome stuff here. Oh yeah, so we were getting the lead up to what you lightly mentioned, and I'm going to throw it over to Z-Miz for our next one here.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up injuries because this is the next one. It's always expected that you give it all inside the ropes, and sooner or later you're going to get hurt. What injury you had suffered throughout your career, and which one stands out the most?
All right. Well, the worst is the one that stands out the most. And I'm just going to say before I start, me and this opponent now are friends. Because every time I tell this story, I always seem to dog on this gentleman too much, and I got to give him credit. It was a learning lesson for me, and it just my body didn't like it. So I have a very screwed up back. I got a couple discs that are crushed, and they wanted to put 2 rods in my back, and I'm still refusing to have that done. And it kind of started too. I mean, this happened almost at the beginning of my career, so I've had to struggle with this the whole time. But I was wrestling a person named Ron Powers. Now, Ron, he had been in WCW. He had been in WWE. He's been all over the world, around the world. Been to Japan. He was Brody's protege, so he kind of had that name to him. But I was wrestling him for the very first time, and I gotta throw a little side onto Tony Costa because he's the one that told me to do it. But Tony said, "Look, this Ron guy, I'm having you wrestle him. He is a hard ass, so he's gonna put everything in there. So you do the same. You put everything in there because he's gonna do it to you. So you might as well, And me being a rookie, because like I said, this happened towards the beginning of my career. As soon as the bell rang, he turned and looked the other. And some wrestlers you can actually just go in there and have a match with, and some love to talk. I'm not one that I just want to hear the bell and go. And Ron's the same way. Hit the bell, let's go. So the bell rang. He happened to turn away from me. I seen my spot, and I went after him. So he was facing the corner. I was forearming him in the back, turn around, get him some gut shots. But everything I gave him. And so I have to take some fault at this. But I put everything in there. And a lot of, I kind of got this whole thing that follows my career that I'm stiff. I'm not stiff. I stole this from a wrestler before. I hit hard in very safe places. That was from Lord Steven Regal. But you got to bear with me. This is when I was still new. So everything I was throwing in there, I was throwing in there. And so Ron powdered out. And, of course, I went to follow him, slid underneath the rope and went to follow him. He classic turnaround, clotheslined me. And then he picked me up. And I call it a shit slam because there was no protection. It was concrete floor. I hit tailbone first on the concrete from a body slam. And when I hit, I lost the feeling in my legs. So I'm just laying there. And Ron's, going around the crowd, hyping them up. And he has to come over there and he picks me up and he goes, "You okay, kid?" And I said, "No, I can't feel my legs." And he goes, "Okay, I'll take care of you." But him taking care of me was beat me against the ring post, beat me against the announcer's table. He picked up the ring bell, beat me in the back of the head with the ring bell, threw me into the ring, and just beat the piss out of me. They had to send wrestlers out there to get him off of me. And they sent wrestlers out there to pick me up and carry me in the back because I couldn't walk. Because when I hit, it immediately crushed two of my vertebrae, my discs, and pinched some nerves up and down. So immediately just, and so I'm in the back, and they sit me in a chair, and there's some paramedics, looking at my head because there's blood is coming out from when he hit me with the ring bell. And the paramedics goes, "We're going to have to take you to the hospital. You definitely need stitches." And I don't know if I can cuss, but I looked at him and said, "Fuck my head. I can't feel my legs." And so like, let's go. So off we went. Now, on a side note, I had probably been wrestling for Broadway and SICW for about a year. Now, I had worked for other promotions before that year, through my whole go away stints and stuff. So like I said, I'm pretty new. Now, my mom has never seen me wrestle for that whole entire year. The one show she decides to show up to is that show.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So Herb knows my mom because my mom is the type that loves to tell you that I'm her son. She might not know you, but if she knows you're a wrestling fan, she's going to tell you who I am. So Herb found my mom in the audience and told my mom, "You need to come in the back." And she goes, "No, I don't. He's fine." And Herb goes, "No, you seriously, you need to come in the back and see your son." And she said, "Herb, he told me wrestling is okay, that you guys work, and that he's going to be fine." And yeah, so her thinking I was safe and everything was fine, I'm in the back not being able to walk. But so it literally took me. So I was in the hospital. Of course, I got the stitches. I couldn't walk for probably a couple months. I had to roll me around. My wife tells the story where she had to roll me around in the office chair around the house and everything. So I had to go from the wheel, from the office chair to crutches to eventually a cane, and then eventually to where I was able to walk again. And that was probably a good 6 month, maybe 7 month span where I wasn't wrestling. I couldn't do anything. I lucky enough, I had all my sick time and my vacation time saved up, so I was still getting paid for most of it. And then my day job let me come in when I was on a cane still. So they let me do that stuff. So that way I didn't lose that money. But so eventually, me being me, I want to get back in the ring. And so I started going back to the gym, working out, getting in the ring, getting everything prepared. And I have like 3 matches with Broadway and with SICW. And then they come to me and say, "Hey, Ron's coming back. We want to know if you want to work him." And, this is the guy who just put me out for 6 months, 7 months. I was like, fuck yeah, I want to work him. I had to do it. I had to prove it to myself, And so come to that night, and I would be saying I was lying if I wasn't fucking nervous. This guy just put me out for 7 fucking months. Yeah. But we worked, and it wasn't a wrestling match. It was pretty much a brawl. He slugged me, I slugged him right back. And I don't even think anyone won that match. I think I ended up going the time limit, but I think he was supposed to win it. But when we got into the back, he come up to me and we shook hands and he said, "I'm sorry for what happened. I've kind of have this name, from WWE and WCW, and when I tour, when he goes around, some people try to take advantage of him and his name." Because we're talking back at the time when he had just gone off the road from being on them, on WCW, on WWE. So he apologized for it, and I think I said something along those lines, so you didn't have to take it that far and all that bullshit. But like I said, from that point on, I like to consider him a friend. We talk whenever we see each other. Matter of fact, for my new cowboy stuff that I'm going with, he actually gave me his boots, so I have his cowboy boots. But so now it's just mutual respect, because since then we've tagged against each other, we've tagged on the same team, we've gone after each other singly, and I think there's just mutual respect there. I didn't mean to throw everything in there like I did, but that's what I was told when I was young, and I did what I was told. But that kind of brings me up into that book that I was in, Larry Matisik's Drawing Heat the Hard Way. So
there you go. I'm just kind of taking a look through this here, right here, Drawing Heat the Hard Way.
Yeah. So that match is in that book. He didn't.
I gotta look for the chapter it's in, though.
Yeah. I would point it out, but my book is actually in my office at work. Kind of proud of that, But so not the whole match is in there. The beginning of the match, in the middle of the match, and I always gave Larry, crap, because the name of his book is Drawing Heat the Hard Way. I said, if that was true, you should put the end of that match in there too.
Right.
Exactly. That was Drawing Heat the Hard Way,
Yep. And I don't know if you're going to be able to find, if you can find this on Amazon or even on eBay. I mean,
I'm sure you can find it on Amazon still.
Yeah.
He's got his other books. And, he did one on Brody, and he did one on Wrestling at the Chase. And I know those are still out there.
I got the Brody book behind me too somewhere. So I got that. Yeah.
But so that was the main and serious injury. But then I've had both shoulders taken out of socket. I've torn a bicep off. I've had everything you can think to do with knees, except for new knees put in. So, I had them stitched up first. Then I've had them scraped. Then I have had everything removed out of them. So I think my right knee has a little bit of cartilage still in it. But I know eventually I'm going to need probably knees down the road. And hopefully by then the back surgeries start looking a little bit better and easier. Because I heard about the whole slipping in the little like plastic discs now, so I'm thinking maybe that will work for me. But I recently just came back from a foot injury where I broke my foot in 6 spots. So my left foot is held on by screws and plates. It's just, that's besides all the cuts and bruises and all that stuff, that's just main stuff was my foot, my shoulders. What I really hate about the shoulders is after your shoulders have been blown out so much, I'm constantly at the gym. Like every other day I'm at the gym, and it depresses me on how much I can actually bench. Because when your shoulders have been blown, your bench skills goes in the toilet. So you got to just do the curls with the dumbbells and stuff like that. But I used to be so proud of my benching, because I can do the 350, the 400. I can't do that now. I can barely do half of that now. But, it comes with a price. And the price, I would not trade it for the world. This has been an awesome fucking ride. I've met most of my idols. Like I told you before, I was a Hulk Hogan kid. I grew up and I met him. I hung out with him. I was when they came to town and did the TNA. I know you went to the show. Dave, you seen the show, right? You went to TNA. When they came to town.
Are you talking about the lockdown pay-per-view?
Yeah,
yeah, I was in there. I saw that.
So when they came to town, they were doing the promoting, and they asked for people to come up and volunteer to work it. So I, found out how to do it, and I got to work it, and they chose me to work it with Hogan. So anywhere Hogan went that weekend, I went that weekend.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And to be a Hulk Hogan kid and be able to tag with him anywhere he went, I went. I mean, this is awesome.
No, you're a big kid, but you don't mess around. So,
yeah. And then, like I said, when I became a worker, then, Ric Flair started being my GOAT. And then I've met Ric Flair. I got to meet him, got his autograph, got to hang out with Ric Flair. So the two GOATs of the industry, I've met them. And, and besides meeting the Undertaker and meeting Mick Foley a few times and Al Snow and all the 80s guys that I wanted to meet, I've met them. And I wouldn't trade this for the world. It's just, once you're hooked, you're hooked. Even with the back problems, even with the foot problems, I still come back to it.
Yeah, well, it's experiences that you can't take back. I mean, it's maybe things happen, but you don't regret ever getting into the business. So I mean, I
never regret it.
Never regret it. But but of all you've been through here, and so if somebody new that wants to get into the business, for whatever role, if there's one particular piece of advice to tell someone new that's wanting to get involved in it, what would it be? What piece of advice would you give them?
Now, Ron told me to run last time I was on the show, by the way.
Right. Right.
I would say find a reputable place to train, to learn from, and take, I'm going to put myself in an example. Herb Simmons brought in Harley Race one night. Right. In the locker room, there's one room back there that has a table in it. And then the rest of the locker room is where the boys are. Harley Race was sitting at that table by himself. All the boys were there, but Harley was in that room by himself. I went in there and I started talking to him. I started asking him questions. Where's your favorite place to wrestle? What was it like in Japan? Just picking his brain. And by the end of the time that we had there, every single wrestler from the locker room was in that room listening to me and him carry on this conversation because I was picking his brain. And I would say, if you are lucky enough to get into a place that has veterans, some people are like, get the veterans out of here. No. You got to listen to those veterans. You got to pick their brain, find out what works, find out how the crowd is supposed to react in certain things. You pick their brains and get all that knowledge. The same thing happened with Ted DiBiase. The same kind of concept. Herb brought him in. Everyone did their natural shake the hand. Hi, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. I had just recently read his autobiography, so I had questions. And I was able to sit there and pick his brain about his life and his father. That's a two-time, well, actually, I guess since his sons were wrestlers too, I mean, that's a whole generation of wrestlers that you can just pick from. So I would say if you're lucky enough to get into a decent place to learn how to train and wrestle, take the extra time and listen to the veterans, listen to the people that's been around, pick up their knowledge, and then use it for your career. that would be the best thing.
Awesome.
It's funny you said two of my favorites too, Harley Race and Ted DiBiase. They're like idols of mine because of how well they can talk.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to be in the ring like you guys. I want to be the Paul Heyman, the Bobby the Brain. Like managers to me were always so cool, and like I liked wrestlers. Don't get me wrong, but the managers I thought were that. I think what's his name? God dang
The
it.
mouthpiece, man.
Yeah, they're the sprinkles on top of the whole thing, and
Yeah.
I like that analogy. And yeah,
So Shaft asked me about why GQ was my manager. He started managing me for a period of time when I was still the Texan under the hood. Texan under the hood, then he talked with his fists. So in order to get an interview, you talk to my manager. And just like how you want to be, that's what GQ is to me. I'll talk to you in the ring using my moves and my fists. If you want anything else, you talk to my manager. I mean, so they all have important roles. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
yeah.
Yep. So I think Z's got another question here for you.
What is one characteristic or fact about yourself that? Wait, hold on. Let me redo that. I messed up. What is one characteristic or fact about you that no one would ever guess because it would seem too unreal to be true?
I might be the biggest guy in the locker room, but I'm the most friendliest. If you have a question, you need advice, you want to just come up and bullshit, I'm your guy. I'll talk to you. Some people are scared to talk to people and they stay away from them, especially like a big guy like me. And like I said, I have a little thing that follows me that, oh, you got to watch out for his chops or he hits hard. So some people are skittish around me. Just come up and talk to me. I'm down to earth.
Right on.
That's what I would say. I'm down to earth.
Yeah. Good
We need
deal,
more of
man.
that.
Yeah, we're only tough inside the ring, but outside the ring we can't, what's the use of being a jerk?
Yeah. You can't get ahead being a prick.
Right. Exactly.
And the rest of the ring you can though.
Right. Well, now one thing I wanted to kind of mention up here is you mentioned that you were kicked out of the 2 times you kicked out of Broadway, but you told me that you were kicked out 4 times at Broadway. Is there now were all these times, were they related to like you trying to get in to be on the show or be in the locker room, and Tony just turned you around and he gave you the foot up the butt?
Yeah. So Tony kicked me out the first few times, but the last time just happened not too long ago, so it's pretty fresh. This time, I don't even know what my punishment is, to be honest. I'm just gonna be honest. So due to COVID, everything shut down. We weren't working. Broadway opened up first. So I was talking to them like, yeah, I'll be glad to come back and work. But I was very upfront with them that SICW is my other home. And as soon as they get up and running, then I'm going to roll with them as well. And, different companies, different promoters have their own rules. And, back in the day, Tony Costa and Herb Simmons were like brothers. And if they so happen once in a blue moon have a show on the same day, they allowed us, the ones that worked for both companies, to work both shows. You work in the beginning of the show. That way you can make it to the end of the show in the other company. And that's how it's been, for as long as I've worked for Broadway. That's how it's been. And then, like I said, Broadway opened up first, so I did a few shows for Broadway. And then Herb was running a joint show, so SICW ran a show mixed with some New Breed wrestling as well. And as soon as I found out that it was opening up, I was on the phone with the promoter for Broadway. Hey, it's on the same day, but this one's a little further out, so I won't be able to make your show. So I'm going to work for Herb. And that's what I did. And then to come find out, evidently there was a big problem with that. And even though I let everyone know in advance who I needed to let them know that I was missing, and it wasn't even like it was the next month's show. It was like 2 shows down the road that I was giving a heads up. I won't be at this show. Well, then I get a phone call finding out that since you are not following the rules and you're working for another show instead of ours, you're going to be punished. And I said to the promoter, I said, I'm going to be punished. I let you know in advance. And he goes, well, you know the rules. And he goes, I'm going to have to get back to you on what your punishment is going to be. And I said, well, you're the promoter. How come you can't tell me what my punishment is going to be? And I'm probably getting a little too in depth with you guys, but this has probably been brewing for a while, you know. And he said, well, I got to talk to the boys about it, which makes me feel like, why do you got to talk to the boys about my punishment? You're the promoter. You tell me what my punishment is going to be. And it's the last time I talked to him. He said he'll get back to me. I'm still waiting for that phone call. But it's
what?
4 months, 5 months down the road. But I heard from that same guy that another top star who you've had on your program, Gary Jackson. You've had Gary on, right?
I don't think I have. I don't think I've had Gary on. But
Well, that's a guy you need to get on. I mean, talking about being in the business, that's a guy who's been in the WWF, the WCW. He's worked.
He's been lots of places. My God.
They did the same thing to him. But he actually got told what his punishment is. I'm still waiting for mine to get told to me. So I don't know.
Well, I will say, you know, it doesn't. What I can say is, you know, I did time in MMWA. I did it when I was in the Tony Costa era. You know, COVID hit, came back. You know, I was still with MMWA, and I got, you know, I've got no qualms or anything with anybody because, you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, that I was presented with an opportunity to, you know, because I was recruited, you know, personally by Herb Simmons. And I will say that, you know, because we've met personally and everything else. This happened the fact that since my last show. And at the time, ACW had dates on 2 Broadway shows. And I let the powers that be know that I was going to be there. And it was going to be a while before I came back. Well, I guess they let that ride. But as soon as I announced that I was going to be part of SICW, then I was kind of dropped. But I can understand that for a business aspect sort of way. And this business can get pretty shady. Trust me. You and I.
Well, you know,
there's been around for forever on this. So
right, and we've seen this in the past too. At least I've seen it in the past where there was a problem between 2 higher members in each one, and then all of a sudden they don't get along anymore, so it kind of splits the team up.
Yeah.
And then they reconciled, or actually, I don't even think there was a problem with the 2 heads. It was the minions underneath that had the problems that split the team up. So finally, when that got worked out, then we were back to being a brotherhood. My issue is he had to talk to the boys. Now, these boys are people I've wrestled with forever. So I don't know if the boys are trying to determine my punishment or if he's trying to determine my punishment. But you know what? it doesn't fucking matter anymore because I'm working where the big boys play now and have been forever, SICW. You can see the future of SICW is just up and up, especially with the card that's coming up. You know, besides the 30th one, they got another one in October with Too Cold Scorpio.
Yeah,
You know,
October 9th.
he's bringing in the people that put asses in seats. And
yeah,
so my loyalty is going to be shifted, you know, and my loyalty is with SICW, and I'm also with American Championship Wrestling. You know, they kind of got a little joint thing going on, SICW and them, and then New Breed.
Yep.
You know, everyone else is getting along, and I'm getting along with everyone else.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of what matters here. And one thing, like I said, we're going to talk about. What I'm going to ask about here is the ACW show coming up on September 25th. I didn't get it because the video was made too soon, but apparently the Lumberjacks had actually made a video that addressed to their manager, and apparently it's the same person that recruited you and Hawk Elliott down in Branson as the Texas Outlaws. So they're apparently she's apparently listed as Lumberjacks manager, Texas Outlaws representative, but yet you guys were facing each other for the tag belts. So they basically gave her an ultimatum to make on, you know, during the match or by the end of the night with that. So I think either way, you know, Texas Outlaws just need to take care of business.
And that's what we're going to do. You know, the Lumberjacks then opened their mouth and called us out. And the one thing that I guess they're getting a little too old to remember, but me and the Lumberjacks go back a long, long time.
Oh, yeah.
Because my old partner, Waco, back when I was under the hood, we took the straps from them once before.
Yeah.
So we've had our fights. And when me and Raz, Toomey, when me and him won the straps, we won them from the Lumberjacks as well. We've been through thick and thin with each other. I even have a picture of me busting open one of them. Back of the head. Yeah. I took Moondog's bone and busted him open in the back of the head. So if he thinks that I'm not going to pull out all the stops this show next, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, it's got another thing coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be good, and I'm in tag action, and I'm working behind the scenes, as we could say, because I've got a partner yet to be named, but I'm doing a lot of work to kind of see what I've got for Gary Jackson and Brian James. But
there's a lot of good talent out there, so
yeah, a lot of good talent for sure. But man,
you can have him tag for you.
Who?
Your partner in crime here.
Oh.
No. See,
no, I'm sorry. As much as this guy, he's got a lot of knowledge about the business and things going on about it. But if he was in the ring, I'm like, stay in the corner. I'll try and fight this one out.
Stay in the corner.
I'd be like Braun Strowman with Nicholas.
Yeah, Nick. Stay there, kid.
That's awesome.
Braun Strowman and Nicholas. Oh my god, that was too funny. Oh, jeez. Man, before I start with my final comments and everything else, I'm going to throw things over to Z here, or Z-Miz, and see if he had anything that intrigued that he wanted to ask Texan before we end our show tonight, or any type of thoughts that he might have had. I usually ask GQ this, but he was like, "No, I gotta pee." So
no, you're good. You're good. I wasn't expecting this, and I usually come up with good ideas, and so with everything going on in wrestling, and I'm not just talking about local wrestling, but everything in wrestling, the growth of it. You know, we saw an era where, like, the 80s and 90s, you had multiple territory kind of things, and it kind of dwindled off. And now we're seeing that reemergence of kind of the territories coming back in some sense, and promotions working together and trying to build this camaraderie. How do you feel about that going forward, negative or bad? I mean, negative or positive?
Totally positive about it. And I say that because back in the territory system, if you read up on it, or if you study the films or watch the videos of the wrestling matches in the territories, YouTube does a great series where they outline each territory, and give that a listen, or even Wrestling at the Chase books, or I'm reading a couple books, one about the Missouri title right now. But the whole thing is, if there's a territory system, you work that territory for 6-7 months, you get what you can get out of that territory system, out of that territory, and then they can move you to another one. And that way you can build up all your knowledge, you get to work different people, and you just keep going and going. So you're just learning as you go, working different people, different styles, different different areas have their own different demographic. So I mean, when you're working it, you're just studying and learning, and you can build your name up. But see, like, if nothing against like NXT or the people that they bring in from football or from whatever walks of life that they just walked in the door with, and then they get trained for NXT, and then they get bumped up through their system. That's all they know. So they only get taught from those people, versus from the territory, especially back in the day. One 6-month period, you might be training underneath Harley Race, and then another 6 months you might be wrestling Ric Flair for the 6 months, and just to be able to learn all that from everyone, I think the territory system was a much better system. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people from WWE now leave and go to AEW.
So that's how I feel. Like I bring up We Talk Wrestling, and we talked about it already, and how some of the guys in there just don't, they have this thought process of like, oh, I got to be WWE or I got to be AEW. And I'm like, you got to be a wrestling fan. Like, that's what you're missing. Like, you're missing the point that now we get to see this guy go against this guy, or we get to see this dream match that we wanted to possibly see against this. Like,
and that's what you got in the territories. You had those dream matches, and if one promoter shit on you for that stay that you had with them, well, you start over the next promoter, and you can just keep building that name up. But yeah, I mean, that's why we got the dream matches going on with the WWE. I mean, the people leaving it. I see everyone sees the WWE as the Mecca, and they see that money. And I think that's why everyone reaches for that money. And then once they become a name through them, then they can branch out and go to AEW, where they can still get that money, But it's just weird. Everyone aims high for WWE, but I can only see the only point of going there is if you're going to get a payday.
And that's the crazy part, is like New Japan's just as big as WWE, just not like
over here.
Like,
right.
Mick Foley brought up a great point. Like, one of those dream matches when I was with him over the weekend, I asked him about who's that hardcore guy that has the potential still that you would like to get in the ring with, and he said John Moxley. And that's legitimately one of my dream matches I wish we could have gotten, is a Mick Foley versus John Moxley match. So yeah, I mean, for me as a fan, I'm so happy to see all this wrestling promotions.
Oh yeah, this is a great time, and it's so weird how it happens. Like, it'll die down for 8 or so years, and then bam, you get. I'm so glad that TNA was almost there. They were almost competition, and I don't know what you think about it, but AEW is competition. Yes. And hands down, I mean, they're taking their competitors' people. And TNA was almost there when they were handling the Kurt Angle and the Sting, but then somewhere along the line they kind of fumbled it, and now Impact is the end game for it. But even Impact is stepping up, So you
got so many guys in Impact right now that are just.
Yeah, I just wish they had a better TV deal or a way of showing their product, because a lot of people don't even think them they think AEW or the WWE or NXT. You know, they right now they're in the lower pack of the order. You know, so they need to get in line and jump and come back to the game, I guess you would say. But territories hands down. And I was told, and Larry Matisick, you know, Wrestling at the Chase, was the ring announcer, started his whole promotion after the Chase ended. And then he started helping Herb run his promotion. And he pulled me to the side one day and he said, Jim, if you would have just came into the business a few years earlier when the territory system was still up, I could have made you a household name. And I was like, God, I mean, it meant so much to me hearing it from him. But man, I wish the territory system was still up so I can go through the whole system. Plus, you get to see the world. You know, jumping back forth from Mexico to the Japan, to the Europe style wrestling, back to the U.S. You know, hands down territories.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. I mean, great questions, man. As far as territories working with one another, and I think WWE. There was talk about WWE possibly working with New Japan and everything else, but that of course fell through. You know, like I said, that requires any other type of other smaller promotions to work with one another or give that independent feel. But that's what they're trying to take out of the current NXT or the new NXT 2.0. Out of that. Oh yeah, it's like a headache.
I didn't mind the arena. I didn't mind the look of it.
Oh, I still gotta watch the show.
It just it took all the joy out of what NXT once was. And then
so everything.
and then to name freaking Braun Breaker, like, come on, you're
on
one of the greatest brother duos ever.
Huh? Yeah, he just ruined his heritage.
Yeah, it's. I mean, part of it we can ask if it's his fault, if it's Vince and WWE's fault, but that's. I don't understand why the second generations can't carry on. Like, there's so many great second generation wrestlers that did not get the full aspect of what they could have been. Kurt Hennig's son, Curtis Axel, is one of them, in my opinion. Bo Dallas is another one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can even say Cody Rhodes up until this point, when he was in WWE, he didn't get the whole, full shake. It took him leaving to start AEW for him to.
I mean, the sad part is Cody was the star in WWE. They gave him poop gimmick after poop gimmick, and he made it something ever. So.
Right. Yeah. If you guys read a lot, I'm a reader. Lou Thez, his book, The Hooker, talks about the territory days, and he goes into great detail of working different promoters and working Japan, working down in Mexico, working everywhere for the NWA and for his own promotion and for other. You
said The Hooker.
Awesome book. The Hooker, yeah. It's actually a very long title, but you can find it under The Hooker, and that's just, I don't know how your wrestling is, but the hooker used to be someone that they would bring in when there was a troublemaker in that territory. And if that troublemaker was the one wearing the belt, well, the hooker would come in and make that guy tap for legit, Wow. He was the hooker, So that's why it's called that. But great book.
I just wrote it down.
Yeah. Oh man. So man, it's some great stuff, man.
I know you got me to 2 hours anyway.
Well, hey, I told you had some great stories.
Yeah.
I thought
for sure it was going to be this long. But you got me talking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know how inquisitive Z-Miz is, and that's why, if anything came up toward the end of the interview, if it's somebody wanted to ask, I didn't want to cut him off. And like I said, good stuff that he asked, and some great insight. On with the interblending of the territories and with your great feedback. I mean, that's true.
I mean, that's one thing that I think I was given some, like, I don't know what it was, but insight about it, like you said. So, like, Ric Flair and stuff was always my fan. And when I met Harley Race as in wrestling on TV, he was a manager. So he became a fan. I became a fan of that. Like, so I knew him as a manager. And then I went back and was like watching old stuff of his, and like, dude was just crazy awesome. Dusty Rhodes was another one that I just fell in love with. The charisma, the coming off, and then like everybody makes fun of my nickname or my name as Zach Z-Miz. The reason I have that name is because my friends and I used to do beer pong together. We came up with wrestling names, and I told Dave this one time, and I'm a huge mark for The Miz. So I watch WWE still to this day for one guy, really, and everybody else is just bonus, and it's Miz for me. I've liked him since when he was Mike Mizanin in Real World. Like, I've been addicted to this guy from day one. So my buddies called me Z-Miz because of that. And then we had, like, one of my other buddies was Liquor T. We had Jack Stagger for, and that's what we did for fun, was we made these wrestling characters out of the wrestling characters we loved, but for beer pong and stuff. So wrestling's just everything about it, from the old 80s school, just knockout, drag out fights, to the new. I'm not, actually, that's a lie. I'm not a Flippy fan, really. I like good luchador wrestling. I don't like Young Bucks.
Oh, shoot.
Just to throw this in here real quick, Harley Race. So when I was talking to Harley, one of the questions I asked him, I said, what was your favorite place to wrestle? And he told me Japan was. And so the follow-up, of course, why Japan? And he said, in Japan, you can't hear the audience. They don't clap, they don't cheer, they don't boo. So when you're wrestling, most wrestlers go off the audience. They know to be a little bit meaner if they're getting booed, or if the baby is getting his pop on, you can just judge the match off the audience. But he said Japan, you had to work off the skill. You had to work your match and work it the way how they're going to feel at the end of the match. Because at the end of the match they're going to tell you how they felt about it. Either they're going to stand up and cheer you, or they're going to boo you. But you didn't know until the end of the match. So you had to be a skillful worker to work there. I mean, it's just awesome to hear stories like that.
They have some of the best matches in New Japan too, I think, because of that. And it's funny you bring that up, that Harley said that is during one of our, I don't remember what it was, if we were just goofing off on Facebook Live one day. I actually brought up the fact that I think the pandemic has been one of the best things for wrestling, for the simple fact that it's allowed like WWE to kind of reset on how those guys were slowing down in the ring and making it more. I don't know. I really, once I got past not hearing the fans, so first not hearing the fans, I didn't like that. But then as I started to sit down and really watch the workings of like a Drew McIntyre and stuff, you really got to see the pieces kind of connect, and it became more fluid, more clean. I truly think we're going to see, going forward, we're going to see a very heightened in wrestling. AEW did a great job with the Stampede match when they had the cinema move wrestling match that was made during the pandemic was something that was needed. And AEW did probably some of the best cinematic matches there was. So going from that Stampede match, that last one they had, and then bringing it back to the ring where Sammy Guevara took the pin and won, that told a really organic story about how that pandemic, took everything apart. And then now the fans were back in the crowd. They pinned in the ring, the pop on us. Like, you can't write that without something so tragic that happened to all of us, in a sense.
Right. It's true. I mean, it's just, I think it made them better. And in all the interviews I've ever heard of them talking about not having the fans there, that's one of the things that but I like how WWE got caught up in that too. I don't know if you've seen it, where they had a girls match and they went to commercial, and since there was no fans in the audience, they
paused and they're standing there.
It was still on air. So that's funny. You think they should at least stayed going. But yeah, I just had to throw that in there. Just make fun of him for a second.
Everything can't be rainbows and sunshine, right?
Right.
Yeah. Unless you're the New Day, but I digress.
I mean, I'm glad that Big E's the champion, but I think they took the title off Bobby too soon. But okay, whatever.
I just don't know where they're going to go with.
That's
Big
my
E.
thing. Is like it doesn't make sense right now.
I mean, he's a big guy, but he was such a comedy act that if you put someone who is shorter or skinnier against him, Big E should win. But if you put someone, I don't know. I just don't know where they're going to go with him. I mean,
you didn't watch NXT back in the day when he was the champion and he was bringing the 5 count back. Highly recommend you go back and watch that stuff because it's killer. And I hope, as much as everybody says it should be Xavier Woods that turns, I hope it's Big E that finally goes heel. And
that's what they were talking about.
Like, I hope to God it's Big E. I think Big E, I've been a big fan of Big E. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the New Day, period. I think all 3 gentlemen in the group are fabulous in their own rights. But Big E, I think we're going to see huge things out of him. I just don't understand why pulling the trigger now is the thing.
They kind of had that set up with Bobby and Goldberg. You thought that was going to go another round at least.
And I actually like their bit, and I'm not even a Goldberg dude. Like I was when I was a kid, but like now he doesn't do anything for me because I'm more of I want the hard wrestler. I want the guy that's doing a chin lock because it's meant to be there, not to rest, kind of thing.
Right.
Like I want the Daniel Bryan.
Sometimes you need those chin locks to rest. So I don't know.
I mean, yes, it's still gonna be used for that, but it's like I don't know.
I know
the difference between like a lazy one and it's lazy, or you can see that it's lazy, or versus Daniel Bryan who's putting everything into it.
Right. No, I agree with you. I just had to throw that in.
No, you're right. It makes you happy. But I just love how wrestling is, and the fact that I'm watching some of my favorite wrestlers. Ethan Page, I met in an indie show, Glory Pro, and Ethan's a great dude. I've become very good chums with him, and I'm happy to see him doing what he's doing. Impact Wrestling has Jake something, and he was known as Keem Zaim. Now it's Rohit Rajaj on Impact. That's my dude, Rohit. Like that guy is going to be, if not, he should be a main key focus. Dude's just amazing.
It might just be the old school ways of me, but I still don't watch a whole lot of the new product. I catch the new stuff when it's a highlight or someone's talking about it really much. But every day I watch some sort of wrestling match from the 80s.
Oh.
Every day I do that, but it's very hard for me to watch. I mean, I can honestly say a Monday Night Raw, I've never seen a whole Monday Night Raw in probably at least 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Peacock.
I don't even watch it really on Peacock either because YouTube is doing so good on bringing back the NWA, the full length shows. Oh my God, I'm in love with that. But yeah, Peacock does, like I watched when you were first talking about Lex Luger coming out for the first Monday Nitro. Yeah. I literally watched that today.
I was so pumped. I was a cheesy Luger fan, and now looking back, I'm like, God dang it! That 6-year-old me that liked Lex Luger, you're dumb because he's not very that good. But there's something about him. He was just so big and so real as life. Like Luger was cool in my opinion back in the day. And the torture rack's one of the best submission moves in my opinion, still to this day.
I think it's really cool. I could never do it because my back is so screwed up. Bouncing up and down with the opponent would screw me up more than it would the opponent.
I mean, Texas Cloverleaf is still my personal favorite submission move, but
there you go.
I mean, if you had titanium vertebrae and joints, I mean, sure, why not? Give it a shot.
Right. That's true, but I think he only had it in the forearm.
Oh yeah, under the forearm.
Mhm.
Oh my God, man!
Hey, that forearm's won a lot of matches.
It
It's
has.
true.
It has. Yeah, it has. Woo, man! So Texan, where can people find you on social media?
Just my actual name, Jim Hofarth, on Facebook. I do have a YouTube that I'm going to throw back some more matches on. So you can just type in Big Texan Wrestling to see most of my matches. If you don't type in the wrestling, though, you're going to get that steak place in Texas. So just be warned.
1960.
right. But Jim Hofarth on Facebook for my social, and then you just have to come to the live shows.
Yep.
Come see me.
Yep. There you
And
go.
so we got one this Saturday, the 18th for SICW, then the following Saturday for ACW. You just have to ride the coattails there.
Yeah, I'm going to try and see if I can get those pulled right back up here because I want to remind people again of the shows. Let's see. Hold on here. We'll get to. There we go. I'll share this window here as we all go to the side. Eventually here. There we go. SICW this Saturday. Flash Flanagan versus Attila Khan. That's your main event. And, of course, tag team titles, Gil Rogers and Gary Jackson defending against TCO with King Chris Hargis and Ken Casa. And there we go. September 25th, ACW. There it is. Tag titles laying right there. Who will Double A side with? Does Big Texan care? Well, we'll see. Yeah, no. Which, hey, just think of it this way, even if you lose Double A, you still got GQ. I mean, you still got somebody. You still got somebody who will still get you a sandwich.
That's true. And like I said last time, he paid me, so I can probably still get him to pay me. I'll keep you on. You got to keep that money flowing.
There you go. You just got to keep that money going, man. Absolutely. Yep. So, man, it was really good having you on here, Texan. Once again, thank you very much. The big weekend coming up for you, at least for you and I, because we'll be at the show. And, of course, don't forget also on that show, if you attend that SICW show, you're going to get a free pass to the following day for the SICW All-Star Wrestling TV taping that will happen on the 19th. And we will start taping at 1 o'clock. The doors will open at noon. And get in there. You're gonna see some good action on that TV taping as well. So once again, brother, thanks a lot. And hey,
it's an honor.
Z-Miz, awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Our new co-host here. I didn't have to curse at or put my head down and try to hide. So it's always a good
and a better looking than GQ too.
Yeah, well, at least you do have more hair, and it's not true. So, I razz him, but hey, but stick around. I'm going to hang out here in the studio here a little bit. I'm going to be playing our outro video. If you guys would like to hang out, awesome. We'll chat for just a little bit more, and if not, I understand. But I want to let everybody know we made through episode 50, and also want to make a quick note here to Facebook. Thanks a lot for screwing up my live feed, which lost most of my viewers from Facebook, but a few came back. But yeah, I'll be definitely voicing my opinion to Mr. Zuckerberg or whoever else who had the liberty of messing with my video here this evening. So for the Big Texan and, of course, for Z-Miz, I am Rough Cut Rick Ruby. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Stay tuned to the Falls Count Everywhere page, and also follow us at FCE Podcast on Twitter. We'll let you know who we're going to have next week. Until then, have a good rest of your night. Thanks again for everybody tuning in to tonight's episode of the Falls Count Everywhere podcast. Don't forget our friends at the following: the Searcher and Hide podcast and Outside the Ring STL. The Falls Count Everywhere podcast is an LTX Enterprises production.